Okay, this is a Calcat review of Star Trek Prodigy episode 17. The Ghost in the Machine. In this episode, the holodeck keeps them trapped. It's another holodeck traps the crew story. That's more like filler because they basically doing a kind of a Mandalorian slash, kind of Star Warsy thing. They're doing a Book of Boba Fett the last half of season 2 thing, just throwing a bunch of other people in there just to do different things, even though they haven't been established that way. Oh yeah, the holodeck episodes. I've done them for them. I've done them as a fanfics and stuff, and usually it's a holodeck planet that makes it more interesting, more dangerous that way. But yeah, and currently there's a story that's kind of like that, but it's not at all like this one. Fortunately, it doesn't end like this one. It does have a similar twist. I don't think I'll necessarily give away the twist, but yeah, the premise is that something is keeping them from occupying the ship, and it does beg the question: why didn't they notice that? And if they didn't notice that, then well, it is a cartoon, so sure, they could suspend disbelief a little bit. Say like, well, they don't really. They are kids, so they probably just didn't figure it out. Kid logic, some of the cases for some of the holodeck things, like weird biker fight episode. The guy that plays Jacob Pog is actually older than the other ones, which is funnier. The youngest actor is the one playing Rock Tog, so there's actually a kid that has to play this giant rock creature, which is funny. The others are, they're early 20s, late teens, early 20s, I guess. But yeah, it's meant as a kid show, but it's actually darker than Lower Decks, which is funny. It's Prodigy, not Lower Decks. I would have said Lower Decks earlier. I meant Prodigy. And I guess she's the Prodigy, or he's the Prodigy. I'm not sure. Dal's the Prodigy, I guess. And she's the Prodigy. But 20 years later, in Starship Locations, we do get to see in the premiere of the next episode, the premiere, Zero and Gwendolyn show up 20 years later. Get to see them 20 years later. But yes. So anyway, and it's kind of following the Silly Trek template, even though I've never actually met with them, so they didn't have to do that. So I didn't meet with them. They're just guessing. They also probably are doing a mystery box thing because Abrams. So earlier on in the season, they were probably like, "Oh, everybody's gonna totally guess the ending with time travel and going back and stuff and all that. So we'll change that so it doesn't make any sense. So that other speculation, it isn't her in the future blowing up the planet or something, because that would be dumb. But it isn't someone else from the future either. It's not the distant. Everybody thought that it was the 2260s the ship goes back to, or 2360s, but it didn't. Chakotay's out there somewhere. If they're the one that make first contact, that doesn't make sense. That it would be them causing the first contact to happen, and then the virus to infect the synths and blow up the Mars. They're not that clever. It's a little too complicated. They're probably not going to do that. But if they do that, we'll be able to say, well, yes, I kind of okay. But now that the fans figured it out, they probably won't do that. They probably have 2 different endings for the end of this season. They're probably like, let's not air the season that they figure it out at the end. Let's not show them that one. If they figure it out, it'd be like the Lost ending. They were part of Lost. So yeah, they're probably not going to cause the synth attack. Although that would be interesting. I thought it was the Romulans who did that. They took the weapon from the Prodigy. Yeah, they probably won't do that. but and maybe goes to their planet instead, blows that up, and then starts the chain reaction, time warp that causes the whole thing to happen. They probably won't do that either, but if they do, I'm right. If they don't, I'm not. So I'm just guessing. So yeah, on the holodeck thing, you can kind of figure out from the trailers and stuff and what's going on. And want to know how on Earth or in space I'm guessing that the other ship that's chasing them, well, I'm blanking on the name of the ship. The ship that's chasing them. Yeah, well, it's probably crewed by at least 200 people. You think one diviner and one dreadnought could take over an entire ship like that? No, that would be ridiculous. That only happens in Silly Trek, where the kids get on the bridge to cause mayhem and stuff. And this is basically a version of Silly Trek. This is the darker version. This is the this is the sort of mirror version. And I'm not going to give away the twist, because it kind of doesn't make sense. So I'm not going to give it away. Yeah. So they're looking for a skeleton key in the story. They go to sort of a mystery box place. They go to Zero's program. They go to Jacob Pogg's program, which is bikers in Terminator universe. They go to Murph's program, where he plays Murphy, a lounge singer, sort of crooner, Sinatra, Vic Fontaine. Vic Fontaine being a fictional version of Sinatra from Music 9 kind of character. Also with the hat and all that, he looks remarkably like it's a cameo by one of us, and it might be. I'm not saying, but yes, yeah. So with a hat and a funny mic and everything, but yeah, not saying. They could say like, oh, that guy's making that up. Not saying either way. It wasn't me. Anyways. But yeah, making, and then there's sort of yeah, and then they go to a pirate ship, and they're on the pirate ship, and a Kraken attacks them, but the Kraken's cute, trying to hug them to death, right out of Silly Trek. Yeah, so hug creatures and stuff. Because yeah, the Kid Rock creature is Kid Rock. The Kid Rock creature, she's yeah, she would think of something like that. That actually makes sense, because, yeah, Kid would think of something like that. What if it hugs me to death? Ah. It's so cute and adorable and also deadly. Ah. Same gag with those the tribbles with the bluegills inside them and the other that I did. Same gag. Different creature, but same gag. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of influences of Starship Locations in here, and they don't even know it. So they could just hire us, and then get Marshall Cards and I, and then they would know it. They would see a name in the credits, and they would say like, "Oh, we're in there writing a Silly Trek story." Although this pilot for this third season has been quite hard to write, just to put it together, because kind of like make a planet that was visited in the classic Trek in modern terms. And update that and do that, but without making it stupid, without making it make sense. Yeah. So anyway, so that is my roundabout review of this story. The some of it doesn't work because it's filler. They didn't need to go on the holodeck, and some of it makes no sense. Like, how would Jacob Pogg know anything about Earth bikers? He wouldn't. I guess he could have looked it up on the holodeck, but how would you know anything about that? Or how would anybody in the 25th century, early or late 24th century, know anything about that kind of thing? And they really wouldn't know anything about a reference to a crooner in a Casablanca place and Brian Story type guy with a hat. Oh, I said the guy. But yes, dude with a hat. And, yeah. Anyway, it wasn't him, but it could have been. Somebody inspired by him, I'm I'm sure. I'm sure they've seen some of his stuff on YouTube. It's probably up there somewhere. But yeah, they were thinking of Vic Fontaine from Deep Space Nine, which does beg the question. Okay, the people that wrote Deep Space Nine were baby boomers, which is the generation before us, the X-Geners. We're all in our 50s. They're in their 70s now. So children in the millennials who are watching this, the demographic is post-millennial, Z generation or later. They're not going to understand that at all, the Y generation of the millennials. So the Z generation, just to make it clear, I guess, they're not going to get any of those references. So having a noir detective story would be a baby boomer thing. Their great grandparents were like doing that. They would have no idea. They wouldn't do that on the holodeck. If anything, they would be visiting My Little Pony Land and visiting Friendship is Magic or something. Or they'd be visiting like Thomas the Tank Engine or something weird like that. Maybe they couldn't get the rights. Thomas the Tank Engine would even be too late. They wouldn't know what that is. Actually, yeah, because that would be X-Gen and then early Y-Gen. Yeah, so even in there, Thomas the Tank Engine, they wouldn't know what Teletubbies was. They would say, what's that? Oh, millennial thing, Teletubbies. If anything, they would probably visit the Power Rangers and the Transformers, maybe, the newer one. Maybe they didn't do that. Anyway, so yeah, those different fantasies they had, they wouldn't have because they're children from another part of the universe. You think they would have weird dreams about, like, yeah, the holodeck would be completely different for them. Yeah, it wouldn't look anything like Earth. Everything would be completely different. They would go to the Zap Fog planet with the suckerfish things, and they're driving motorcycles and they float. You know, it'd be something weird and alien like that. But then again, Disney's Strange World is not doing so. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah.